Hello, everybody. This is Joe Joseph, and this is your dailysheeple.com daily news brief. Oh, yeah. Well, it's the day after the great upset, the great disappointment for a lot of people. To a lot of people, they're elated. I know a lot of people in the Christian community are saying, hallelujah, a miracle has happened. Well, I mean, if we don't get the Wicked Witch of the West, then I guess, hey, the lesser of two evils, right? Well, the UN is also in disbelief at what happened last night. This, according to Reuters, says disbelief questions at the United Nations after a Trump victory. Oh, man, they have to be like pooping their pants over at the UN. This is very interesting. It says the election of Donald Trump as the U.S. president was met with disbelief and despondency on Wednesday among some United Nations officials and diplomats amid uncertainty surrounding his foreign policy and likely engagement with the world body. Trump, a Republican, has described the 71-year-old United Nations as weak and incompetent and threatened to pull out of the global deal and to combat climate change, which, by the way, is good because, of course, we know climate change, the way it's sold, is completely bunk. Of course, that being a legacy of UN Chief Ban Ki-moon, who's, by the way, stepping down after 2 consecutive 5-year terms. It says, the United Nations is not a friend of democracy, and it's not a friend of freedom. It's not a friend even to the United States of America. This, according to Trump in a speech in March to the American-Israel Public Affairs Committee. The United States is a veto-wielding member of the 15. Who cares that we're a veto? It doesn't matter. You know how much money we pay to the United Nations? Billions. To the United Nations to be like their strong arm, to push the globalist policy and agenda. You know what they say? Let me tell you what they say. This is, Mr. Moon said this. People everywhere look to the United States to use its remarkable power to help lift humanity up and to work for the common good. Is that really what we do? Is that really what we do overseas? Ask the people of Syria that. Huh? Do they feel better that the United States is involved in their business? Ask the people of Iraq how they feel about America. Ask the people of Afghanistan. Ask the people of Libya. Ask the people of Iran. Ask the people of North Korea. Ask the people anywhere where the United States has been an interventionist. And most often, they'll tell you that they don't appreciate the fact that we're telling them how to live and what to do. And most often, if not all the time, they're left with a country worse off than it was when we went in. So let's not fall for the propaganda. Even the French UN ambassador even chimed in. He said, more than ever, we need an America that's committed to world affairs, including at the United Nations. Unbelievable. A senior Security Council diplomat, speaking on condition of anonymity, said Trump's foreign policy has so far not been very coherent. Yeah, because he wants to be a non-interventionist. That's great. You know, that's the thing. Look, there's a difference between being an isolationist and being a non-interventionist. A non-interventionist says we mind our own business when it comes to foreign policy. Do we go ahead and perhaps use diplomacy, maybe a little bit of trade, that kind of thing? Great. Wonderful. Maybe even cooperate a little bit. You know, science, education. Hey, we could all be singing Kumbaya. But it normally needs to benefit both parties. And unfortunately, the U.S. has been getting the poo end of the stick for quite some time. A good indicator of that is Big Pharma. When you go to the drugstore and you have to pay exorbitant fees for your medicine, it's because you're subsidizing the rest of the world. That's not to say that we shouldn't be charitable. We should most certainly be charitable and help out the rest of the world. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't all come together and sing Kumbaya. I think we should. But not the way they want to, and certainly not the way it's being, well, it's being sold that way, but it's not the way that it's actually happening. You know, a lot of people say, oh, those people that don't like globalism and coming together, why, they're just dumb hicks. And that's not really the case at all, you see. Let me tell you something. Things have to be mutual. Respect, for example, has to be mutual. Love is a two-way street. Doesn't go one way. For people to come together, for the world to come together, it has to come together where love and light abound. Not darkness. Not through lies and deceit. Not through forcing your will on another country or another people. My way's the right way. I know what's best for you. Seems to be the mentality out there. Look around you. Look around you and tell me that that's not the way people are. Prejudicial. Racism is alive and well. Ageism is alive and well. You have all sorts of prejudices out there. You know, you're poor, you're rich, you're white, you're black, you're Christian, you're Muslim, you're a Jew. We divide ourselves umpteen different ways when we could be learning so much from each other and enriching each other's lives. And we just don't do it. And now we have somebody that's come along that's bucked the status quo. And whether you like Trump or not, I'm not sold. And I'll be quite frank with you, I'm not sold. But at least the globalist candidate didn't get in. And I was shocked that he was allowed to. And I say allowed because if you take a look at the county by county map, it's like red with little blue dots on it. So, I mean, obviously, the sheer numbers of people just overwhelmed the system. I think the official count right now says that Hillary won the popular vote. I find that very hard to believe. I think fraction magic certainly played its role in the election process. But I can tell you that we need to see past our differences and embrace them and come together and don't play into the divide and conquer rhetoric that the mainstream media likes to play. Notice last night during the heat of this, the whole election and how it was unfolding, that the powers that shouldn't be caused like a micro crash of the stock market in after hours trading. And as they were counting, the market was down as much as 800 points to spook the people into voting for Clinton on the West Coast because the West Coast polls hadn't closed yet. That's the kind of games that they play. You can't play into it. You can't play into it. And now going forward, look, we've had our celebration. Everything's good. Hillary's out. But it's time to get back to work. And believe me, we cannot allow this election or this victory for Trump to lull us back to sleep. Because there's a lot of things that can happen in the days and weeks ahead. And let's not forget, you still have a Congress that's bought and sold. Bought and paid for, pardon me. In other news, speaking of elections, cannabis. Major victor in the elections last night. This according to the dailysheeple.com. Cannabis was on the ballot in 9 states on Tuesday. 4 states, North Dakota, Arkansas, Montana, and Florida, voted on the legalization of medical marijuana, and another 5 states, California, Arizona, Nevada, Maine, and Massachusetts, voted on the legalization of recreational cannabis for adults over 21. As of now, recreational cannabis initiatives passed in California, Nevada, and Massachusetts. I think Arizona was the one that rejected recreational cannabis. Maine is still pending. I guess it's too close to call. Florida, Arkansas, North Dakota, and Montana have passed measures on medical marijuana, with Montana being the only state to make changes to a previously passed medical marijuana initiative back in 2004. Leading up to election night, there were 25 states that have previously legalized medical. Now it's brought up to, now we have 28 states in total. 4 states, Colorado, Washington, Oregon, and Alaska, as well as Washington, D.C., have legalized cannabis for recreational use. Now you have the great state of Massachusetts and California and Nevada that have passed referendums and initiatives to make it happen. So congratulations to those states for being on the right side of history. Because let's take a look at history for a second and see how prohibitions worked for us. Ah, that's right, it hasn't. Let's take a look at the 1920s when our own government ran the federal poisoning program that poisoned over 10,000, killed 10,000 people by poisoning alcohol in the speakeasies to scare them from using it. So we'll just kill our own people. Blah, 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 blah. Because we know it's best for you, so let's kill you. Ah. I mean, that's a government that's protecting our rights and our best interest, isn't it? When you take a look at the Schaefer Commission and its findings, it's just unbelievable that we have gone this long buying into the propaganda. Remember that 1980s commercial? It was you, all right? I learned it from watching you. People that are old enough will remember that. Just absolutely floors me that we still think so primitively sometimes. And I just hope that we can come together because, you know, even now Soros is funding these riots. Infowars.com is reporting about these flag burnings and open threat to kill Trump threats and riots. I know Cleveland has an anti-Trump protest going right now. This on shtfplan.com. There's an editor's comment from Mac. He says, leftists have lived up to the hype and thrown temper tantrum violence as everyone expected. How anyone could have supported Hillary rather than support her prosecution is something that will continue to boggle the mind. In the meantime, angry and disappointed DNC voters are waging violence and tempting the country into full-blown martial law. Probably these episodes will die down within hours, but there's always the threat that such nonsense and support for a would-be tyrant will continue to flourish. Just look at how George Soros and company took the riots in Ferguson and Baltimore and dozens of other cities. The population's buttons are being pushed and the country's being tested. Best be prepared just in case things get further out of hand. I have to agree with him. And that's why you have Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, and active duty military and reservist military training in the mock cities, just in case things get crazy. And they very well could. Just like Ferguson and everything else, you know, it doesn't take much and it doesn't take a lot of money because, believe me, the poor and middle class are suffering horribly and they will do anything to feed their kids, including raise hell. So let's just keep that in mind as we go on. Also, in other news, let's get off the election and all the craziness for a second, okay? I mean, because why focus on that all the time when, according to the Daily Mail, it's already too late to ban killer robots? Why? Because researchers say autonomous weapons have and will become possible. By the way, they're already out there. The military's already developing them. They're already there. Autonomous robots, they're there. Drones, they're there. Yep. Been there for a couple years now. Drones especially. Even swarm mentality. I mean, this is old news. It's already too late. It says researchers have been warned it's already too late to stop the killer robots. Yeah, because they already have them. And they say banning them would do little more than just give a temporary solution. No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't even be temporary. Because the powers that shouldn't be don't follow the rules. We know that already. Elon Musk and Professor Stephen Hawking have both warned that AI could develop and will, a will of its own, that will conflict with that of humanity and could herald dangers like powerful autonomous weapons. I mean, are they to the point now where they're like Skynet and developing their own robots and auto-replicating and stuff? No. Do we possess the technology? Yeah, I think we do. I think we certainly do. It says killer robots have a Pentagon budget line, and a group of non-governmental organizations, including Human Rights Watch, is already working collectively to stop their development. They claim governance and control systems like killer robots need to go beyond the end products. It says we have to deconstruct the term killer robot into smaller cultural techniques, says Taro Karpi, assistant professor of media study, whose paper with Mark Bolin, UB professor of media study, and Yvette Granta, a graduate student at the university, appears in the International Journal of Cultural Studies. They say we need to go back and look at the history of machine learning, pattern recognition, and predictive modeling, and how these things are connected and conceived. See, the problem is with these robots is once you create an autonomous being and it has a life of its own, you start to develop a moral problem, an ethical problem. And we're also treating them like slaves. And robots have feelings. Just want everybody to know. I mean, why do we have to go there? That's the question. We have so much technology already, and I'm all for technology and the advancement thereof. But aren't there some doors that we shouldn't open? I'm just saying. I don't know. I mean, it could be just. But there is one guy, and this is entrepreneurship at its best. Last story of the night. I found this awesome. I wish I thought of this idea. According to the New York Times, Rolling DNA Lab addresses the ultimate question: who's your daddy? Oh, I love it. And only a New Yorker would come up with this. That's all I got to say. Almost everyone Jared Rosenthal does business with has a secret or suspicion, something they hold close and keep confidential and do not share even with the nearest to them. But they tell Mr. Rosenthal he's not a priest or a psychologist. Why? He's not a doctor or a lawyer. The truck, recreational vehicles that have been converted into rolling laboratories, offer on-the-spot DNA testing. He's got two of them, each emblazoned with the slogan, as blunt as it is effective, posing a simple question: who's your daddy? It invariably attracts stares and questions when they appear around New York City, and might seem like unlikely confessionals. See, because this is where we've come, America. This is what happens when we remove God from society. When God was removed from society, when morality was taken away, when the sanctity of marriage was lost. I know a lot of people out there like the polyamory and all that kind of stuff. I mean, first of all, you're using a Greek and Latin word in the same, it doesn't work. But whatever, have at you. You'll be using this truck soon. All I'm saying is, when we seated that standard, if you will, and we push God to the side, this is the outcome. Look at society now. It's broken. Our society's broken. The way to get it back? Power of prayer. Power of prayer, my friends. And I'm not going to tell you who to pray to. I pray to God. You know, everybody has their spiritual beliefs and everything else. But good grief, you know, get some grounding underneath you. And if you want to learn, pick up a Bible. That's a good start. It's a great history book. Unbelievable, you know. All I can say is, cheers to you, Mr. Rosenthal. The Who's Your Daddy DNA testing truck. I mean, I would have never thought it in a million years, but my gosh, what a success. And with that, this is your daily news brief brought to you by thedailysheeple.com. Have a great day, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the selection process, and I will see you all tomorrow. Farewell.